2,500 years ago, in two different cities, a very dangerous question was being asked. How do you stop one man from taking all the power?
Not with an army, not with a bigger king, but with an idea.
And here's the strange part. Two cities asked that question at almost the exact same time. And they came up with two completely different answers. This isn't a legend. These are real places, real people, and the words they invented, you still use them today. Democracy, republic, veto.
So let's go back, way back, to a hill, in a city called Athens. It's dawn. A farmer is walking into the city, dust on his feet, still smelling of his fields. He's not rich, he's nobody special. And in an hour, he's going to help run the entire government. I'm not exaggerating, because in Athens, around the year 508 before the Common Era, they had just tried something the world had never really seen before.
They called it demokratia, from two Greek words, demos, the people, and kratos, power. People, power. Put them together, democracy.
The people hold the power, not a king, not a handful of nobles. Ordinary men, deciding things for themselves. It didn't happen overnight. First, a man named Solon, about 100 years earlier, freed Athenians who'd been sold into slavery over debt and cracked the door open. Then came the man we remember as the father of it all, Cleisthenes. He reorganized the city so your neighborhood mattered more than your bloodline. The old noble families hated it.
But here's what I want you to actually picture. That farmer? He climbs a rocky hill called the Pnyx.
And there, packed shoulder to shoulder, are thousands of citizens. As many as 6,000 of them, sometimes, out in the open air.
A herald stands up and calls out 4 words that were, honestly, revolutionary. Who wishes to address the assembly?
And anyone could. Anyone. The rich man, the poor man, the farmer with dirt under his nails. You walked up to a stone, you stood on it, and you spoke. Then they voted. Not with machines, not with paper. They raised their hands, and whichever side looked bigger, that side won.
War or peace? Building or spending? Thousands of hands in the sun, deciding the future of the city. Now let me tell you the part that sounds completely made up. But it's true.
Most government jobs in Athens weren't won by election at all. They were handed out by lottery, by random chance, like drawing names from a hat. They even built a machine for it, a stone slab called a cleroterion, with slots and little bronze tickets and black and white balls that spat out who got picked. And you're probably thinking, that's insane. Why would you run a government by luck?
But listen to their reason. It's actually brilliant. If jobs go to whoever gives the best speech, the smoothest talkers always win. And you can bribe a voter. But you cannot bribe random chance. Lottery gave every single citizen an equal shot. To them, that was real fairness.
Okay, pause. 2 quick questions to chew on.
1. What do those 2 little words actually mean? Demos and kratos.
And 2, the tricky one, would you trust a government picked by lottery? Really think about it. Hold that thought, because Athens had one more trick, and it might be my favorite thing in this whole story.
Imagine there's a man in your city getting too powerful, too popular. The kind of man who might make himself king.
In Athens, once a year, the people could vote to just get rid of him for 10 whole years. And how did they vote? They picked up a broken piece of pottery, a shard, cheap, everywhere, basically ancient scrap paper. and they scratched the dangerous man's name onto it. That shard had a name, an ostracon, which is where we get our word, ostracize.
If enough names were scratched, around 6,000 votes, that man was gone, out of the city, 10 years. No blood, no war, just pottery. And here's how we know. Archaeologists have dug up around 12,000 of these little shards from the dirt of Athens. Real votes from real hands. In one old well, they found a stash of shards all naming the same man, and they were written in only 14 different handwritings. Somebody was making ballots in advance. Even back then, people played dirty.
So that's Athens. The people themselves, voting with their hands and their broken pots. Beautiful, loud, direct.
But I have to be honest with you, because a good story tells the whole truth. When the Athenians said the people, they didn't mean everyone.
Women could not vote at all. Enslaved people, and there were many, had no rights. And foreigners who lived and worked there their whole lives also shut out. The men who actually held power might have been only 1 in 5, maybe fewer.
So it was a breakthrough. And it was unfair. Both things are true at once. It was a first attempt, a brilliant, flawed, human first attempt.
Now, at almost the very same time, across the sea, a second city was asking that same dangerous question, and they hated kings even more.
Welcome to Rome.
The Romans, so the story goes, had suffered under 7 kings. The last one was so cruel they called him Tarquin, the Proud. And around the year 509 before the Common Era, they'd finally had enough. They threw the king out, slammed the gate, and swore a furious oath. Never again. Never one man on a throne.
Now, historians will tell you, honestly, that a lot of this founding story is more legend than fact. The Romans loved a dramatic tale about themselves, so take the details with a pinch of salt. But the system they built, that was very, very real. They called it res publica, the public thing. The government doesn't belong to a king, it belongs to everyone. Say those 2 words out loud, slowly. Res publica. Republic.
But here's their problem. If you throw out your king, who's in charge now? One powerful leader is exactly what you're afraid of.
So the Romans came up with an answer so simple, it's almost funny. Don't have 1 leader, have 2.
2 consuls. Equal power. Both elected. And this is the genius bit, each one could block the other. If one consul tried something dangerous, the other could stand up and stop him cold. And they only ruled for 1 year. Then they had to step down. 2 leaders watching each other like hawks for just 12 months. Very hard to become a king when someone's always standing right next to you, ready to say no. Behind them sat the Senate. Hundreds of Rome's most experienced men, many of them for life. Technically, they only advised. But their word carried enormous weight. You've seen their initials and maybe didn't know it. 4 letters still carved all over Rome: S-P-Q-R, the Senate and the people of Rome. Power shared between them. That was the whole idea. Dramatic tone, but at first, Rome had a crack running right through it. On one side, the patricians. The old, rich, noble families who ran everything. On the other, the plebeians. The ordinary people. The farmers, the workers, the soldiers who actually fought Rome's wars. And they were sick of having no say. So one day, they did something extraordinary. They didn't riot. They didn't attack. They just left. Thousands of ordinary Romans walked straight out of the city and refused to come back. No workers. No soldiers. Nothing. History's very first great walkout. And it worked. Because a city needs its people. The patricians caved. They gave the plebeians their own officials, the tribunes. Men whose entire job was to protect the ordinary people. And the tribune was given one word. One incredibly powerful word. Veto. It's Latin. It means, I forbid. Dramatic tone. One tribune could stand up in front of the whole Roman government and say that single word, veto, and freeze the law right where it stood. One man. One word. And the powerful had to stop. We still use it. When a president or a governor blocks a law today, we say they veto it. That word walked out of ancient Rome and straight into your news. Quick pause again. 2 questions. 1. Why did the Romans choose 2 leaders instead of 1? And 2. The big one, Athens let the people vote directly themselves. Rome had the people elect others to rule for them. Curious, which one do you think works better? There's no perfect answer. That argument is still going today. Because that's the real difference. In Athens, the people were the government. Everybody voting directly. In Rome, the people chose representatives to govern for them. And almost every country today is built on one of those 2 ideas. Or a mix of both. Softly, but before we go, I owe you the honest ending for Rome too. Just like Athens, it left people out. Women couldn't vote. Enslaved people had no power. It was never equal. Another brilliant, flawed, human first attempt. And yet, let me leave you with one man. Because he might be the best of all of them. His name was Cincinnatus. And the Romans told this story for centuries. Rome was in terrible danger. An army trapped, enemies closing in. So the Senate did something they only did in emergencies. They gave one man total power. A dictator. Absolute control over everything. And where did they find him? On a small farm. Pushing a plow. His hands in the dirt. They told him, Rome is yours. Command us. Save us. So he did. He took charge, led the army, crushed the enemy, and saved the city. Total power was his. He could have kept it. He could have made himself king. Everyone would have let him. Softly, and instead, about 15 days later, he gave it all back. Laid it down, and walked back to his farm. Back to his plow. Back to being an ordinary man. He had absolute power in his hands, and he let it go. Because he believed the republic mattered more than he did. And here's the goosebumps part. More than 2000 years later, a general helped a brand new country win its freedom. He had an army that loved him. He could have taken the crown. Instead, he handed his power back and went home to his farm. His name was George Washington. And people at the time called him the American Cincinnatus. That's how far these ideas traveled. From a hill in Athens, a shard of pottery, a farmer's plow in Rome, all the way to now. So, what do you carry away from all this? 2 cities. 1 question. How do you stop one person from taking all the power? Athens answered, let the people decide directly with their own hands. Rome answered, split the power up, elect leaders, and never ever trust it to one man alone. Neither was perfect. Both left people out. But between them, they gave us the words and the ideas we are still using to run the world. Whispers: democracy, republic, veto. Pause: not just old words. They were somebody's dangerous idea once. An idea that a king could be replaced by the people. Softly, and that idea is still yours.